Alright, we have finally arrived for Tier S of the third year of the Challenge series. And going to be the last tier for some time, probably. The series is not ending by any means. The best way I can describe it, there'll be, I guess, call it upgrades in the near future. At least, presumably near future. Basically, there's this big whole plan that I have for the Challenge series. It stretches beyond even what the PS4 can feasibly do. Gas. I mean, there's the Twisted Invitationals. Those will probably be a constant thing from here until the end of time. That will be staying even when the actual Challenge series will be going on some hiatus. Basically, I'll be hopefully getting a computer in the near future. Like a gaming PC that can run the PC version of Assetto Corsa and mods. And that would allow the Challenge series to be a completely different beast. As with Assetto Corsa mods, I can, well, within reason, add, sometimes even outside of reason, add pretty much any vehicle to the game. Every character does have their own specified preferred vehicle, and most of the time, said vehicle isn't in the game. For example, myself, my vehicle of choice is technically the 2002 Dodge Viper GTS. Dodge is nowhere to be found in Assetto Corsa, so I have to resort to Mazda RX-7s and such. Tyler McIntosh, his preferred vehicle is a 1969 Dodge Charger, because of the Dukes of Hazzard being his favorite TV show. At least I think it is. He makes it seem like it is, so I'm going to assume that it is. There's no Dodge in this game, as just mentioned. But with mods, I could literally add the General Lee to the game. The car from the Dukes of Hazzard, if you somehow didn't know that. Thrasher has Mustangs, but his preferred vehicle is the 2000 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R. Well, that's not in this game, but there's a pretty close analog to it that can be added to Assetto Corsa. It's just an SCCA GT version of it. And the list goes on and on. Like, running down the list of vehicles here. Sebastian Sham's Halo vehicles, a 1971 Volkswagen Beetle. Or 76, not 71. 1976 Volkswagen Beetle. Volkswagen's not in the game, could mod it in. Barbara Page, her vehicle of choice is a 1957 Cadillac Eldorado. That's not in the game, but it can be modded in. Well, Cam has his Halo car, which is a 2011 Audi R8. Thrasher has a Mustang. I don't necessarily have the Viper, but I do have the RX-7, which is my second choice. Gina also has an RX-7, but technically her preferred vehicle is the FC 3S, not FD. And the FC is not in this game. And you mentioned Tyler. Ivan Sodakov, his Halo vehicle, or preferred vehicle, is the Mercedes-Benz CL55 from 2001. That's not in the game. Travis Wild, his is the 2000 Porsche Carrera 911 Turbo. That's not in the game. Dedrick Schwartz, his Halo car is, trying to think of the year. 1997 TVR Cerbera. Not in the game. Ryan Wolf's Halo car is the 2006 Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren. That's not in the game. Darius Burrell's Halo cars, the 2000 Lexus GS 430. That's not in the game. And Eric Wojciechowski's Halo car is the Ferrari 550 Maranello, which is not in the game. Anyway, long-ass intro over. I'll probably put some kind of annotation, if I remember to, that tells you when to skip this really long intro. So let's get into the first race, Barcelona, and we'll explain how the tier works. Or not how the tier works, but you should know how the tier works by now. And go over the tier's contestants throughout the event. Alright, we're on the starting grid for the first race of Tier S. Gemini is on pole, and you can read the starting grid if it really matters. It's gonna change a lot, basically. The way it's kind of meant to. Like, that's the idea of making the race interesting, is by having people pass each other, you know? So as Dominic DePrisco gets absolutely run over off the starting grid because he is in a low GT3 car. He only loses one place to Ryan Wolf, however. The basic gist of this particular running of Tier S is there's sort of a balance going on here. By which I mean, there are 5 GT cars and 10, well, not GT cars, mostly Group C's, but there are exceptions. There's 6 Group C's, 5 GT cars, and 4 hypercars. 2 FXXKs and 2 P1 GTRs. The basic idea is the top 10 will always be, like in theory, always be the upper tier Group C's and hypercars. There's 2 of each. So there's 2 787Bs, there's 2 P1 GTRs, 2 FXXKs, 2 Mercedes C9s, and 2 962Cs. What is going on in here? And then the rest of the field is various GT cars, like the Huracan, Barbara's Corvette, which is somehow in 4th place, meaning it's overtaken 2 cars that should be slower, or that it should be slower than, in the form of Wojciechowski and Schwartz. I don't really know how that's happened. Basically, if a GT car scores a point, that means that it's beaten at least one group, like one of the better cars, one of the Group C's or hypercars. And that also means that if at any point a Group C or a hypercar is behind a GT3 car, no wait, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know, basically the only way that you score when you're a GT3 is you have to finish ahead of one of the higher tier cars. As a GT3, literally, only 3 of them are actually GT3s. The 911 RSR and Corvette are GTEs. What happened to you? Oh, it's been a while since we've had a Challenge Series incident. Oh. You really went for that, huh, Eric? I get you were behind slower vehicles, but that was forcing the issue, and now he's stuck in the gravel. Audio, please. Yeah, so DePrisco, Barbara, Cam, Sham, and Taniguchi are all going to be fighting basically for table scraps in this tier. My audio is occasionally cutting out for like a split second, and I'm really not sure if that's my mic is already going out or if it's the game, because I remember this happening at least one other time on this game and it freaking me out. But I can't really tell if that had any sort of evidence that my mic was giving out on me, or earbuds, or audio output device. Because, okay, turn 9's a passing zone for Tyler. And he is ahead. It's not like it didn't work by definition, but... And here comes Thrasher to follow Tyler ahead of Dominic, I should say. Whoa, Thrasher going for a bit of a constant drifto there. Oh, that's nice on the engine. And with the way that I arranging Tier S in this way for this season for this year had a couple of ideas working around it. As me and Gina are fighting for 9th place. Not the kind of battle I expected to see unless I got stuck behind Barbara, who she herself has been looking for a way around DeFrisco, a bit of infighting between the GT cars. And Gina just throws it in there. The two 962s have been slowly making their way towards the very front of the pack. However, they seem to have kind of hit a wall, and to make that worse, Gemini is nowhere even in sight. 10, possibly more, probably 13 second margin at this point between Gemini and Ryan Wolf. Yeah, basically 12 and a half. But the McLaren P1 is going to remain ahead of them because of how much more power it has. The Group C's will have no way of passing it like that. Tyler will be slowly catching them as well. He's also going faster than Ryan Wolf by an entire second. Gina is ahead of these last two GTs. However, I'm not. And I'm not sure I will be ahead of them by the end of the race, either. And Barbara's locking up. Starting to get impatient while stuck behind Dominic, maybe. So the idea behind arranging the drivers in this fashion is that when the Group C's and hypercars start behind GT, they have to work to get around it, and because of how much faster they are, They may put themselves in a position they cannot get themselves back out of and crash, like we saw with Eric. By 15 seconds, Darius ends up winning the opening round of Tier S. He won the entire thing last year, so he's clearly not lost much momentum on that. Dominic and Barbara both bring home points for the GT crew. And Ivan and Eric are looking kind of funny right now. Being that there's no reason they shouldn't be scoring, and they just didn't. Well, about 15 hours later, because I fell asleep. We are finally on the starting grid for Red Bull Ring. And it appears the 787Bs have swapped grid positions. Gina starts on the front row, and Darius starts 12th. I don't really totally remember what the point standings were. I don't remember who finished where before. That was like, several hours ago. So we'll just take it with a grain of salt and proceed once we know the point standings after this event. Gina, however, has butchered the start off the line and got overtaken by Cam off the grid. Of course, we'll be quick to remedy that and also run him off the road a little bit. Besides that, everything else is, business as usual through turn 1. It's as business as usual as this can really get. Travis Wild has also already overtaken the R8 driver. Eric will also follow suit. Tyler sort of boxed in. He might be able to break Cam, though. I want to say this might be the first time that Tyler and Cam have been in the same championship. I think, but I might also be totally wrong on that. Sham is also slowly being overtaken by the Group C cars. However, this time, unlike with Darius and Silverstone, I do remember this much, that he just kind of ran away with that. Travis Wild is right here to keep Gina honest, I suppose. Keep her from just running away with the win. At least in theory he is. Whether he'll be able to do that, we don't know. We'll tell you in about 5 laps. And there goes Eric. I am also fully cognizant, as we got a bit of a drag race between us two and the Sauber C9s. To me and Ivan. Ivan brakes later than me. But technically the outside's the better line through turn 3. Yes, that is turn 3. I hate it too. And I will get the jump on corner exit and remain in P8. I am cognizant of the fact that this mic sometimes cuts out for a split second, which can, if it happens, I'm not aware of it at the time of, and it will more or less just like interrupt a couple of words that I say and make a jarring crackling noise, like static. Sham is now demoted to 6th position. Thrasher and Wolf, the most recent to overtake him. But he is still the leading GT car. Me and Ivan will be the next to arrive at his doorstep. And we still got 4 laps to get to him, and I can see him up ahead, so I don't really think that's going to get him super far, and I would be admittedly surprised if he stayed in the points at the rate we're going here. This is definitely a track that does not favor the GT cars' chances of staying in points positions, even if Sham started on pole. As you can see, Sham from here, and this is the car in 11th place. This isn't even... they're not even in the points right now. He will be after he passes Sebastian, but at the moment, no. Things at the front are very spread out amongst the top 6. Probably like a second between each of the drivers in the top 6. And then I was just begin to describe the deficit between 6th and 7th. 2-second lead to Gina's credit. And is... okay, top 5 are all at least a second apart. Thrasher is apparently very slowly gaining on Ryan Wolf here. Me, the remaining Group C's have all caught Sham. Now we just have to get him overtaken at the right spot. Schwartz just sends it in on Gemini and somehow makes that braking point stick. I'm not really sure how that happened, but here we are. I have walked up massively, trying not to run Sham over. I know Lewis Hamilton, I'm not going to run somebody into that gravel trap here. As much as I wish I were Lewis Hamilton in this case, because that would mean I'd have 7 championships in the 7 Challenge Series, and there's only been like 8 of 17 that have happened, so that would be quite an impressive record. But no, up to this point nobody has more than 2, and the driver with the most wins is Eric, and he's only got 17 out of the, like, I would say roughly 250 races run? Maybe like 230? At least 200. Yeah, like minimum 210, because every championship has had at least 12 races. Some have had 16, so I'd probably guess like 230. Well, actually no, it'll be like 230 at the end of this championship. Right now it's still like, 220. Eric is, I think, catching Travis Wild, but, like, not by a lot. Not by enough. And now, just like that, Sham has been overtaken by all of the Group C cars. I did totally miss it. There might have been some chaos, but considering nobody else really got screwed up by anything, I'm gonna go ahead and assume there wasn't. Well, Ivan did get ahead of me, and he's now running away with P7. And I'm just having to hold off the remaining Group C's behind me, in the form of Schwartz and Burrell, who are trying to pass me in the worst possible place to try and pass somebody on the track, which is turn 8. Seriously, don't do that unless you want to die. Thrasher has fallen back from Ryan Wolf significantly in the last 2 laps. Wojciechowski, as I had projected, is catching Travis Wild, but it's not even close to fast enough to matter. Tyler is also transitively getting closer and closer to Eric, but it is also too late because we're on the last lap of the race. This is the last heavy braking zone, and Schwartz gets right to my rear bumper but does nothing, so I believe that our finishing order is more or less settled unless something ridiculous happens in turn 8 again. And by no means nearly the landslide that was the last one, Gina Torini will take victory at Red Bull Ring. Eric was 100% getting close to Travis. I think if this were like an 8-lap race, maybe he'd be able to take the second place away, but ain't nobody have time for that. And several seconds later, here comes last place to finish the event. And now we will head to race 3 at Silverstone, and hope it's a little less processional than that. And, you know, this is literally designed to be more interesting, but I think we're going to have to wait until the end of the championship where we start getting the title rivals determined before we really get into anything of that sort. For right now, it's pretty much just a process, you know? Trust the process. We are on the starting grid for Silverstone. My throat is still dying, and we are looking at the starting grid. I didn't even look at the point standings. It's really hard to put much stock in it until we reach like race 4. It's like the end of the episode will be like the first time where it's worth being introspective like that, as like, you know, analyzing the current point standings, because right now it doesn't matter. We don't really have the title protagonists determined yet. It's anyone's game. There's like 10 people that could be the points leader right now. Schwartz looking like the definite favorite as he's surrounded by GT3 cars, 2 of which start behind him. So as long as he gets a decent launch, at least decent enough to stay second, he doesn't necessarily have to get ahead of Barbara into turn 1, or turn 3 rather, because turn 1 isn't really a passing area of any kind unless you're already alongside, because Silverstone is weird. You know, he doesn't have to get Barbara into the first braking zone, but he needs to at least not be behind anyone else. And he'll probably have a pretty easy victory on his hands if he can manage. He absolutely did not manage. So Barbara gets a bit of free space. He definitely cut that corner if we're going off of F1 game logic. And Eric has just swept ahead of him. Can he reissue a challenge back down the inside of Eric? He manages to keep him honest, but now Eric is on the inside, and now we're going to unleash the horsepower, and that Ferrari has much more of it than the 962 does. Eric will make a move pretty swiftly on DePrisco, and will also be getting after that Corvette in due time. Schwartz also cutting that corner. Had struggled and I think failed to overtake the Huracan. Yes he has. Travis and Ryan fighting, or Travis and Tyler, I should say, fighting over 13th. I got confused because that used to be Ryan's paint like design, but Tyler ended up taking it, so he had to go with the yellow one. Ryan Wolf, as you see here, getting ahead of the GTR. He's also apparently been hit by someone, but nobody spun out, so it's not really worth looking into. Oh, right, that already happened. Oh my god. So me and Gemini are the last ones to overtake Taniguchi. No, wait, that's totally wrong. There's like 3 other people behind us. This is a weird running order at the moment as we complete the first lap of the event. Eric has since overtaken Barbara. Schwartz is struggling to follow. Kind of just, I guess, caught up to the Corvette at an inopportune moment and could not, you know, seal the deal. Now with a huge run towards T1, but still can't find a way around. Now here comes Thrasher and the other FXXK to try and take advantage, but instead Thrasher just about finds a curb and spins. He also just about runs into the side of him. It is a bit of a mess in the back half of the field, that's for sure. Gemini offline, I think he was going to be defending from me. I don't know why he thought I had a huge run on him, but... Barbara still remains P2. Schwartz is absolutely messing up. He might have a chance into cops here. He's going to be well ahead. Barbara brazenly stays on the outside, but the little game ends there, and Schwartz has finally taken second place. It took him almost a whole lap to get around a GTE car. That is how, I guess that's how steadfast Barbara's driving and, like, particularly defensive driving is. Derby race, I guess the Twist Invitationals, Derby racing has some advantages in that regard. And then Thrasher just screeches past that Corvette with, like, no problem. As is to be expected, more or less. Travis has finally reached the top 10. Tyler is the only non-GT that has yet to do so, and that is because Barbara is running up comfortably in 4th place. I say comfortably. She'll be passed, but she'll be scoring at the end of the day. I'm 99% sure. I saw for a moment Travis tried to pass Gina but failed. Also on the map, just saw Shem defending from Hikari into turn 3. So the group of 3 is marching onwards towards the Corvette. And see if one of them struggles the same way that Schwartz did, or if they'll all keep their heads on straight. Right now, it looks like they're more intent on passing each other than simply catching up to the GT. Although that mindset seems to have changed. For a second, I thought Wolf was trying to pass Sardakov, but he decided against it, probably for the better. The other kind of premise of the GT cars being arranged as they are is that the person who wins the GT championship will probably also be noted, and there will probably be a separate championship battle for the best of the rest, as it were. Making it the best of the GTs, who has the highest score of all of the GT cars. As Wolf actually has overtaken Sodakov into Stowe. Corner names. Schwartz, with his better cornering, has in fact caught back up to Eric, despite his incredibly long delay to get to where he is. I thought somebody was out of the race for a second based on the way that the map was focused, but no, that's just me. That's my little safety car over there. Well, that's not going to get you many overtakes done, Schwartz. Will Wolf be ahead out of this corner? He'll go down Barbara's inside. Barbara, being a GT car, has better cornering than these hypercars, though, and she manages to stay ahead of Wolf for the time being. The other two behind still looming in the back if Wolf can't seem to seal this off. Once again, Barbara on the outside is managing to show these hypercars all the way up. Wolf will go for it again through Meggetts and Beckett's, and in the most unorthodox way I could have possibly guessed, he is now finally into P4. And now with that said and done, I'm sure Ivan and Gemini and maybe even Gina, who's caught up to this train following the shenanigans caused by Barbara, will have no effort getting around her, or no issues getting around her. Barbara has actually covered off Gina, allowing Gemini to go ahead, but not allowing her to go ahead. Or maybe not. Yeah, maybe. No, yeah, no. Now Gina should be ahead. They almost collide. Barbara is actually still keeping herself in the picture against Gina. Gina goes down the inside of the Corvette. A big curb hop means they almost collide again. Barbara stays ahead through 4. Can Gina hang the outside? Barbara almost shoves her off, but finally Gina's ahead of the Corvette. Barbara has been making things a nightmare, and now Travis gets ahead with relative ease. She can still keep me and Tyler behind and bring in some points, but not many. It'll only be 2 when I figured she'd actually be finishing like P7. Behind this, battle for 12th between the GT cars of DePrisco and Sham. Sham will find a bit of sand and will be forced to, not be in 12th. Schwartz, through the S's, has definitely caught up to Eric Wojciechowski and is putting him under some considerable pressure. However, that FXXK has so much horsepower that the 962 has simply no answer. It will take a desperate move into this last chicane, but I don't think the AI have that capacity. No. So I do believe with all that said and done, this victory at Silverstone will be credited to Eric Wojciechowski, making it 18 for him. So Barbara will score a point, and I'm curious how that's taken place. So here I am, catching up to Barbara in the weirdest possible place. This is technically where Wolf did it, however, I just didn't get on the brakes enough, and I almost took Barbara out myself. So I'm just an idiot. Yeah, this isn't an F1 car, Riker. You need to brake more than that. And Barbara survives this encounter despite my incompetence, which is really impressive because she went through the gravel, almost spun out, and managed to keep the car rolling just well enough to stay in 10th place and score. So Tyler got ahead of her in that encounter, but she still held 10th because, well, I didn't pass her, and obviously neither did any of the GTs. So there's the point standings. Take from them what you will. I don't take much away from them yet. Because there's like 7 people within 6 points. It's not until we get a repeat winner in the championship that you can really tell much of anything, because they'll be at a major advantage to everybody else. And we haven't had that yet. You can tell because nobody has 30 points. So, on to Brands Hatch for the final race of this episode, which has been recorded throughout the entirety of like 19 hours. On the starting grid for Brands Hatch, I almost forgot the name of the track for a second. And, I mean, like I said, I'll start looking into the point standings and such after this race. It's kind of hard to put much stock into it. All I know is that there's a lot of GT cars at the front, and I'm the first person that's not. So, assuming I don't butcher the start, which I think every time I've said this about a Group C car, they've butchered the start, I should be the one that could be able to win the race. Or I'll just never get ahead of those 3 GT cars, and then we have an upset winner, and it just looks weird. Well, shockingly, I got off to a decent start, and might be ahead of Barbara by the end of turn 1, but maybe not, because I'm on the outside. Instead, Barbara will overtake Hikari before we even get to turn 2. Ryan Wolf will be on my inside, so there goes that idea. And Solikov, and I'll probably get passed by like 6 other people before I get to a left-hander. Well, no, but obviously I say that while being fully aware that the next corner is a left-hander, but NASCAR, this isn't. I managed to keep the other Mercedes C9 behind me. And I get ahead of the GTR. Looks like that answer is a yes. Meanwhile, Ryan Wolf has, well, he's not gotten any further than me yet. What the f... Okay, so I guess I cut away at like an awkward time here. I'm very obviously ahead of Hikari. Oh, I just overcook it again. Maybe I should have been in a GT car. Clearly, I don't know how to drive this thing. They made a Mercedes GT car. What is that window up there doing? Somehow managed to not lose any more positions despite my incompetence. I just didn't stay ahead of the GTR. Ryan Wolf hasn't really had an opportunity to get close enough to the GT cars yet to pass. Sham and Page kind of running super close together. So close, in fact, that Barbara's going to try and overtake Sham, and that's meant that Ryan Wolf has nowhere to go. They get super close through turn 1. They about run each other off the road. Barbara's got that crucial inside line through 2. About spins the car off that inside curb. I see there's this happening back here, but the battle for the lead is going on between 2 GT cars, and Ryan Wolf so badly wanted to make that 3 wide, but had no opportunity to do so. He just has to sit and wait while these 2 GT cars hash it out for the lead. Albeit the very temporary lead, because Ryan will eventually probably take it away from the both of them. Sham will retain the lead, but Barbara's still on the inside line, meaning Wolf still can't go anywhere. Finally, they've gone back to being single file. But Ryan Wolf needs to hurry up and get ahead of one of them before they can do that again. However, these corners aren't passing zones, so he's finding that to be a bit difficult. In the back, we also caught a glimpse of Solikov defending his position from Dedrick Schwartz. I guess he succeeded in that regard. We're back onto the main straightaway. Wolf has still made no overtakes on either of these 2. He's going to finally pull to the inside of Barbara. That's no issue. He does not get ahead of Sham, though. Behind this, Thrasher's to my inside. He about runs me off the track. Bit of a walk-up. I think Wolf tried to avoid running into Sham going through turn 2. I'm still somewhat there, but not by a lot. And the FXXK's acceleration means that Thrasher will be taking that position away from me. No, it doesn't. I send it back on his inside, and by way of putting him on the outside curb, I get back ahead for the moment. And do I make a move on Barbara? I certainly look like I'm going to, but I just don't. Ryan Wolf is finally the leader, after getting ahead of Sham down the back stretch. I'm next in line to attempt to take over these GT cars. Schwartz is ahead of Ivan now. I assume that happened also on the back straightaway. And now we've got a regular train going on between the entirety of the whole field. Like, not even kidding. Going bored as we watch me cover off Thrasher whilst attempting to pass the Corvette ahead. And I think Barbara just got revenge on me, or I just effed myself again. So heading towards 1, Barbara brakes on the outside lane. I hit that curb, and physics aren't happy with me. And maybe I just need to stay away from this Corvette, because every time I get near it, I just screw myself up. Then again, when Barbara did this to Sham, she forced Sham off the track. So the AI obviously have... Darn it. The AI obviously... Why? The AI obviously have the capacity to take to the curbs to avoid me. As we saw with... Well, we can actually demonstrate that from the lap before, can't we? Oh no, because that happened 2 laps ago. Never mind. They were not there yet, I don't think. I know they were. So yeah, Sham takes to the curbs to avoid Barbara on this lap. And he remains ahead. Then we got to this lap, where nothing of that sort happened. And then we get to this lap, the current lap, and Barbara sees no interest in taking the curb. Does my turning go further than this? Hang on. Where's my own name? I've forgotten my own name. It doesn't really seem like it could, so I just didn't slow down again enough. Uncanny, strange deja vu. Well, I mean, it does go more than 90 degrees. I just don't like to do that. So, I mean, under normal circumstances, you definitely call that on me, and the punishment fitting the crime. However, it looks like I got back on the road somewhere. Yeah, I'm in last, but I'm still on the racetrack. Admittedly, I think at that point, I think I just saved myself the embarrassment and put the car back on the garage. Because I've wrecked myself in 2 races out of 4. Both while attempting to pass the same godforsaken car, who nobody else seems to be having any kind of problem passing, except for Schwartz. And now you get out of the way. Where was that before? Maybe she was pissed. Maybe she just didn't want to get out of the way. She's like, you know what? My car is heavier than yours. Like, my car is just heavier than yours, so if you bump into me, you're the one that pays for it. She is a Twisted Invitationals champion, so I really should have seen that sort of thing coming. She's just getting freight trained by every Group C on the planet. Now you hit the... Where was that? I would be in the race right now if you'd just gone on the curb, but you just refuse. Thrasher's in the second. Sham's still hanging on to 3rd place for the moment, but I think that's borrowed time, as you have Schwartz. That's still Schwartz. Why is there a caution flag? What did I miss? I missed nothing. I'm still the only one back here. There's no one out of the race. Basically every other, well, Barbara's in the middle of it, getting still overtaken by everybody else. Every other... Oh, now I see the caution. Yeah, that makes sense. So heading into the back straightaway corner, and we will see him... Oh, he pulls a me. He tries to stay on the outside and overcooks it. He finds the inside wall, and his race is done. His race has no reason to be none other than that the fact that the AI on the Assetto Corsa are absolute quitters. So his attempt at scoring has since faded into sepia tone along the way. So Barbara, the last remaining GT car to score anything, and I mean, she will because I'm not anywhere near her, but she'll only score at most a point. Maybe like 2 or 3, but that would require her not being overtaken by that guy and by Tyler. I don't find that to be all that likely, although she is going to attempt to fight back against Travis here. And she has that inside lane, which has been a very crucial element of this race, having the inside through two, as it always is at this track. On this game, anyway. And Barbara does manage to take 8th back, so clearly it's one of those cases of you don't understand, I want it more. But it doesn't matter because Travis has a lot more horsepower than you. If only this were Gran Turismo and the GT cars could be upgraded to be competitive with the Group C's. This would be a completely different game if you could do that. Travis just about gives that Corvette space. And this time Barbara finds some sand and will lose out on 8th, be in 9th. Does she keep Tyler back there? Meanwhile, heading out of the last turn, Ryan Wolf will be your winner at Brands Hatch. I need to find him on the wins list. There we go. This is 11th wins, the highest number of wins produced by a driver with no championships. Meanwhile, there's a driver with 2 wins and a championship. I don't really know how that happens. Pablo Hernandez, I think it was Tier A. So now I look at the point standings. Ryan Wolf is your points leader at the end of the first episode. 7 ahead of Schwartz, and the top 7 are all within a race win of points. 14 back for Tyler. Hikari, Cam, and Sham have still not scored. Sham had an almost perfect opportunity to do so until he found the inside wall at the corner on the back straightaway and totally threw that chance away. Yeah, so that'll be the first episode of Tier S in the books. And there's, we have, for episode 2 of it, you get Nürburgring, Zandvoort, Mugello, and Monza. So, rarely interesting, very rarely interesting, somewhere in the middle, and then Monza, which is like the craziest racetrack in the game for the AI, because they like to do dumb things to each other. Nürburgring can do that occasionally, but it's quite rare. Same thing with Zandvoort. And then Mugello. Honestly, I could probably have made this an 8-race championship, but I feel like that would be too short, and every other championship has been 12, so I figured I would maintain that consistency.